Recording in progress.
All right then. So welcome everyone. About once a month I give a talk on one of the powerful Buddhist women whose photos are in the stairwell there as you're coming up into the meditation space. And tonight I'm going to talk about Pema Chodron. Whoops. She's a Tibetan nun. Can pass it around, thanks. Yeah. She's got sort of a special place in my heart because it was through her community that I first probably even heard the word Buddhism. I don't think before that I'd even heard the word. And we had a couple in our community who, in our neighborhood, they were university professors up in Edmonton, and they quit their jobs, and the lady became a nun with Pema Chodron, and the fellow, her husband, became a groundskeeper at their monastery. But I was, when this all was happening, I was in medical school and was way too busy to take the training that they were offering in our community. And maybe that was an okay thing because my personality is more attracted to sort of the Theravada flavor of Buddhism than it is to the Tibetan flavor. Anyway, Pema Chodron. So she was the abbess of Gampo Abbey, which is a Tibetan monastery in Nova Scotia in Cape Breton. Her name, Pema Chodron, means lotus dharma lamp. She was born in 1936 in New York City, and she was born into a Catholic family, not a Buddhist family. And then she grew up on a New Jersey farm with two older siblings. So born in 1936, that makes her 89. She's still alive. I believe in the United States. I couldn't find out where she's living right now. Maybe they're keeping that a secret. I don't know. Yeah. But she'd be 89 years old right now. She went to university and got a bachelor's degree in English literature and then a master's in elementary education and taught elementary school in New Mexico and California. She was married and divorced twice. She had 2 children from her first marriage and now has 3 grandchildren. It was in her mid-30s when she was touring France on a holiday that she met a Tibetan monk. His name was Lama Chime Rinpoche. And she got attracted to Buddhism, and she returned many times to France to study with this Lama. In 1974, when she was 38 years old, she became a novice nun under Ranjung Rigpe Dorje. He was a Tibetan monk who was a refugee from Tibet and was on a Western world tour at the time and visited the U.S., so she became a novice nun under him in the U.S. And the local person who had invited this Lama was Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who used to be a Tibetan monk, but he had disrobed. So this other fellow that she became a novice under, he probably was just temporarily in the States, so she continued her studies under Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Now, full ordination, like becoming a fully ordained nun, bhikkhuni, is to this day not reinstated in Tibetan Buddhism. And so she had to go to Hong Kong, where there are, a group of Mahayana or Zen monks and nuns who have never lost the tradition of ordaining women. And that's where she received her full ordination in 1981. And she was the first American woman to obtain full ordination in the Tibetan tradition. Like, even though she ordained with the Mahayana nuns, she then continued her practice as a Tibetan nun. And she was age 45 at that time when the full ordination happened. Her teacher at that time, Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, he had established over 100 meditation centers around the world, including in 1983, so that was 2 years after her full ordination, he established Gampo Abbey in Nova Scotia, which was the first Tibetan monastery for Western men and women to train. And I can show you some photos. So here's a picture of Pema. It's a bit blurry, so it's probably a bit younger picture, and then this is probably a more recent picture. And then here's Gampo Abbey on the coast of Nova Scotia. Here's a picture in winter. Cape Breton's very beautiful. And here's a stupa that's at Gampo Abbey. So the Gampo Abbey was established in 1983, and Pema Chodron, she moved there in 1984, and her teacher appointed her the director 2 years later in 1986. So she was 50 at the time when she became the abbess of Gampo Abbey. Her teacher died the following year. So she remained in Gampo Abbey until 2020. So was the director there for 32 years. Her following teacher after the death of Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche was Zegar Kontrul Rinpoche, whom she met in 1994, and he continues to be her current teacher. She's been a prolific writer. She's written over 20 books, and her most famous one is called When Things Fall Apart. So since retiring as an abbess in 2020, I'm assuming she's back somewhere in the United States. So she's apparently doing some teaching, but spending most of her time in solitary retreat. In 2006, she founded and runs what's called the Pema Chodron Foundation to support organizations dear to her heart. So this was initially set up to make sure that there was financial security for Gampo Abbey, but when that was secured, then she broadened it out to support other causes. And I'm just going to show you a little 10-minute film that talks about her foundation.
The Pema Chodron Foundation was founded in 2006. The foundation initially aspired simply to ensure that my home monastery, Gampo Abbey, would be supported well into the future. Thanks to the help of so many of you, that has become a reality, and I am very grateful to you for this. As the years have gone by, the Pema Chodron Foundation has begun to support a wide range of organizations that are dear to my heart, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to some of them. One of my aspirations is for Tibetan Buddhist nuns in Asia to receive the same training and education that has always been available to the monks. I feel it's important that these nuns can have a full opportunity to realize the compassion and wisdom of Buddhist tradition and to carry it into the future. And toward this end, we support nunneries in Tibet, India, Nepal, and Bhutan. The Tibetan Nuns Project, for instance, provides not only education, but also humanitarian aid to refugee nuns from Tibet and the Himalayan regions of India. And with the support of the Pema Chodron Foundation, many nuns have now completed the Geshe-ma degree, which is roughly equivalent to a PhD in Tibetan Buddhism. This degree, which is the culmination of 17 years of intensive study, has until recently only been open to men. So these young women will go on to become the teachers, leaders, role models, and inspiration for coming generations of Himalayan women. We also support several other nunneries, such as Surmong in eastern Tibet, Soni Gechang Ling Nunnery in Kathmandu, Nepal, Cher Gampa, and a 3-year retreat center for nuns living high in the Annapurna Mountains of Nepal, which is under the guidance of Venerable Trungpa Rinpoche. In addition, we provide scholarships to Western monastics who wish to deepen their education and practice. Then, over the years, we have also extended our reach to support projects that foster and sustain community building among at-risk and underserved populations. Here are just a few of the many projects that are important to us. For the past 30 years, Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles has provided hope, training, and support for formerly gang-involved and previously incarcerated men and women, allowing them to redirect their lives and become contributing members of their community. Each year, over 10,000 former gang members from across Los Angeles come through Homeboy Industries doors in an effort to make a positive change. They are welcomed into a community of mutual kinship, love, and a wide variety of services to help them succeed. The Prison Mindfulness Institute supports healing, rehabilitation, and personal transformation of men and women through meditation instruction in prisons. Their aim is to bring transformative practice not just to individuals, but to the entire criminal justice system. The work of the Prison Mindfulness Institute mitigates the extremely destructive impact of incarceration on families, communities, and the overall society. The St. Bonaventure Mission in New Mexico provides people of the Eastern Navajo Nation with water delivery. Water is an extremely limited and precious resource in this dry and nearly barren environment. It is also a constant concern for the 40% of Navajo households who rely on water hauling to meet the daily water needs of drinking, cooking, bathing, and cleaning. The mission brings water directly to the residents of these widely dispersed and often isolated and impoverished households of the Eastern Navajo Nation. The Pema Chodron Foundation Book Initiative was created for the benefit of those who have no access to my teachings and to nonprofit organizations who serve people in need. With your help, we have donated thousands of books to prisons, shelters, and nonprofit organizations for social good around the world. All the online bookstore purchases made on PemaChodronFoundation.org support the Book Initiative program. Sermon Foundation is located in the Yusha province of China. This is a Tibetan community with one of the highest maternal and infant mortality rates in the world. Throughout the past decade, Friends of Sermon Foundation has opened free medical clinics providing community-based care and education to women, resulting in a dramatic reduction in maternal and infant mortality. Sermon Foundation operates a community health worker project, having trained 40 village and nomadic women as barefoot doctors and birth attendants. With the help of the Pema Chodron Foundation, these community health workers have reduced maternal mortality to nearly zero. Malezi School in Nairobi, Kenya, is the first school in the community's history to offer affordable education for its children. Many of the children and their teachers have been unable to attend school regularly because finding food to survive was their priority. Keeping children and staff fed and in school is always critical, but these children were in particular peril in one of the poorest slums in the area. With an ongoing grant from the Pema Chodron Foundation, Malezi Primary School is now able to provide breakfast and lunch daily to 220 undernourished students and their teachers, as well as help fund teachers' salaries, infrastructure, and a rooftop garden. In 2020, the Pema Chodron Foundation began sponsoring 2 new programs sponsored by Tergar Charity Nepal in the Nubri Valley region. In the Himalayas and bordering Tibet, the Nubri region is one of the poorest and most remote regions of Nepal. The first of these programs is a women's literacy and empowerment project. Many of these women have never had the opportunity for any formal education or training. The project has been a huge success in building a foundation for the women toward leadership in their community through basic literacy education. The second project is a new kindergarten school in Nubri, the first one ever in this very poor area. The curriculum aims at giving these children the tools for facing the modern world, while linking them with their traditional, cultural, Nubri, and Tibetan roots, as well as the natural environment. The school will help prepare the children to become the eventual community leaders of Nubri and build a sound bond with the indigenous traditions involved in protecting the natural environment. Now, listed here are some of the many other projects that are supported by the Pema Chodron Foundation. It is only thanks to the generosity of our donors that the Pema Chodron Foundation has been able to do this work in the world. We appreciate your support and offer you a deep bow of gratitude and love.
And then I'm just going to finish with a short talk of Pema's. It's about 7 minutes long. If you go to her website, there are many of these little talks, but I'll just give you a taste of one of them tonight.
So this is comfort, otherwise known as comfort zone. But we are really attracted to it, and that's where we want to hang out. And this actually becomes problematic. Everybody needs comfort, and everybody needs support, and there's nothing wrong with Netflix inherently at all. I'm a big movie lover myself. However, if you spend the rest of your life trying to just be comfortable with pleasure, watch Netflix every night because it's so relaxing, or whatever it is, there's more harmful and less harmful ways to stay comfortable, but there's no growth. That's the point. So the next level out here is called challenge. Is that how you spell challenge? No. E-N. You were a school teacher. Challenge, and then or learning zone. So the idea here is there's a whole range of our experience where we're not in our comfort zone anymore, and it's very challenging to us. And that's where the nostalgia to go back comes from, and so forth, because it's not easy. On the other hand, it's where the learning happens, because we're stretching beyond our usual. So for instance, if you have a problem with stinginess, like it's very deep in you, where you just giving things is very, very threatening to your whole being. Stepping into this challenge zone might be that you just do this exercise, that you take something that you like I love this, I finally found a felt marker that I really can use, and then you give it away like that. Just the simplest thing. People who have deep, deep attachment, issues about all their security comes from having things, that can make them feel slightly nauseated. But then you go the next step, and you every day you give somebody something, postage stamp or smile, anything, but something that pushes the edge a little bit. So it's a challenging, but it's where the learning happens. And this is what I want to emphasize over and over in this teachings, is where the learning happens is it's challenging, but you're growing, you're waking up. Does that make sense? Does anyone want to ask a question about that? Because there's one more circle. Does anyone challenge that idea? Do you dare? Sometimes the challenge is, how about stepping out right now? Saying, that doesn't make sense to me. All my learning happens here. I mean, when I order Netflix, it's documentaries. Right here, that's where I learn. So for most of you coming here, shaving your heads, putting on robes, challenge zone. But not everyone. It's so personal, As I say, for some people going like that is challenge zone. And then the outer zone, they're not meant to be one bigger than the other, but the outer zone is called, what's it called? It's excessive risk. How do you spell excessive? I-E-E. excessive risk zone. And again, the idea here actually in this particular model is there's some places you just are definitely not ready yet for. You're not going to learn because it's too traumatizing. It re-traumatizes you. Here you can, it's challenging, it's not comfortable, but you learn. Here it's deep end of the swimming pool and you don't know how to swim. So the idea of this is that that strangely enough, by willing to leave this comfort zone and work with the challenges and the learnings, stepping out of your comfort zone, the comfort zone becomes more of a positive thing. It begins to grow so that even what was a challenge before becomes something that is you're at ease with. Does that make sense? Whereas if you stay in the comfort zone, it shrinks. And the older you get, the more uncomfortable and threatened you are by outer things. So that things you were comfortable with when you were 20, 30, 40 years old you're very uncomfortable with when you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and something like this. So if you stay in the comfort zone, it shrinks. If you step out, then it grows. And so it could even go to the point where excessive risk zone becomes just challenging learning zone. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like if you step out, the whole thing becomes more workable.
Oh, super cool. Okay, that's all I wanted to share, so we can open this for discussion.